Hello everyone, and a fine waboo-doo to you all. I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and this is how Adam would book this month. I'm looking at Embrace the Hate, a concept that everyone in their 30s must at some point come to terms with. I'm for it, by the way. You're all dog-ass, but hey, thanks for subscribing. Embrace the Hate was a 2-month-long storyline which was originally designed to be a character examination of John Cena. It ended up being a total character assassination of Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder's US title reign, and also Zack Ryder's knees. Jesus Christ, though. To those of you who call yourself Blompier aficionados, and, you know, don't, will know that I've already covered the Zack Ryder portion of this rebooking back in my What Culture days, and, you know, head on over and give that video a watch. Why not? Tell Adam Cleary I say hi, and that he is a little cutie. In that video, I just removed Zack from Embrace the Hate entirely, and then just stopped talking about it, because in my own words, it's dog shit and you can't fix dog shit. Well, younger me was a coward, so here I come with a little plastic bag and a scalpel. Let's fix Embrace the Hate. Quick rundown of the angle itself then. Going into December 2011, Zack Ryder was US champ, Daniel Bryan was world heavyweight champ, and CM Punk was WWE champ. What a time to be alive. It was a brighter timeline, entirely too good to live. John Cena and Zack Ryder were friends, which makes sense. They're both affable idiots with the moral complexity of a chair. And in December 2011, after 5 months away from TV, Kane showed up once again wearing a mask. The mask had a bad boy scowl built into it, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes masks effective. Masks shroud the wearer's emotions and intentions, which makes the wearer unpredictable and therefore intimidating. Jason, Michael Myers, original Kane. Like, the mask's fine, it just looks like it was made by the same sun-dried fruit by the foot that the Universal title was made out of. But then, they also gave Kane a special entrance mask and a, like, impassive welder's mask that was f***ing awesome. He looked like Matanza Cuetos from Lucha Underground. Have him wear that all the time. What's wrong with you? So Kane showed up, attacked Big Match Jon, said, "The world's full of hate, everyone hates their job, everyone hates their friends and family, everybody hates," and let me just analyze that. No lies detected. Kane also brought up how much the fans hate John Cena, and that's a point worth remembering because that was actually interesting. Like, this story actually started off with a ton of potential. A story about getting Cena, a man with, up until that point, a completely unique relationship with the crowd, and putting that relationship under the spotlight. That's cool. So far, so good. So Kane wanted to get John Cena to join him as father and son, embrace the hate, and rule the galaxy. Cena said no, so Kane said, "Okie dokie, I'm gonna kill your friend." Kane went after Zack Ryder like a doofus-seeking missile, tried to drag him under the ring. He slashed Zack's tires, chokeslammed him through pallets, gave him a rib injury which cost him the US Championship. Then Zack had a Falls Count Anywhere match with Kane on Raw, got chokeslammed through the stage, which made him go from Zack Ryder to Zack Roller. And just look at that neck brace. That's really funny. Throughout all of this, Cena just watched everything happen like, WWE made videos about Cena, how much people love him at parades, him with kids, talking heads from his fans, his dad. How often are you at home, John Cena? Oh, not enough. And again, you see this and you think, oh, is this gonna go anywhere? Is Cena gonna re-examine his relationship with, no, it's not. Well, that's the end of that feud, except no, it isn't. Kane abducted Eve, Cena saved her, then she kissed him, he kissed her back, and then Zack is like right there. And it's so funny, and I'm so sorry, and it's so funny. Then Cena almost hits Zack, doesn't. Then Zack's thrown off the stage, and Cena's like, and then he beat Kane clean at Elimination Chamber in an ambulance match. He rose above hate in the incredibly unconvincing metaphor of winning a random-ass pay-per-view match, and there, story over. Next night on Raw, Cena makes a brief reference to losing Zack as a friend, but then in the exact same promo cuts a tight 5 on Eve, sipping the skank juice, shucking and jiving to the cheap sheets, getting them to do a Hoski chant. So nothing accomplished. A stopgap feud for Cena to beat a monster in order to heat him up for his match with The Rock, and you know, that's fine in itself. It's boring, but it's fine, except WWE, they just didn't change Cena in any way, and they had the opportunity to. They brought Kane back just to beat him a bunch of times and irreversibly damage someone who was making them a bunch of money. Zack Ryder shirts used to sell out. WWE, what are you doing? It felt like WWE just saw The Dark Knight, saw the whole arc of Joker tortures Harvey Dent into becoming Two-Face, but instead the only thing they ended up recreating was not Dent's arc, but closer to just Batman's, where he kept reacting to everything the Joker was doing by going, and then just beating Joker in a fight, and that was the end. You know, the not interesting bit about The Dark Knight. You know, they took out the bit that makes the film work. Embrace the Hate is a big wasted opportunity, one I've been meaning to have a crack at for a while. So speaking of which, let me have a go. So a lot of people, including a younger me, wrote off the Embrace the Hate storyline because it ultimately didn't change wrestling's most resistant to change character, completely destroyed Zack Ryder in the process of accomplishing nothing. But there is an idea in here, and it's a combination of two stories that WWE convinced themselves they had told when they actually hadn't. The Embrace the Hate storyline, when John Cena hadn't done anything, just looked aghast at Zack living through a series of unfortunate events. Take that storyline and combine it with the one that WWE retconned going into WrestleMania 29. See, a huge part of that build-up, in an effort to distract fans that it was exactly the same build to exactly the same match, except without the promise it was only going to happen once, was that 2012 had been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad year for Johnny C. After getting beaten by The Rock, Cena described 2012 as a year of my existence destroyed, and the redemption video package actually made the visual connection that being beaten by The Rock caused John Cena to get divorced. I don't know him personally, maybe it did. This redemption story is bollocks, of course. Here's a quick rundown of how John Cena's 2012 actually went. He kissed Eve in front of Zack, which is hugely funny, beat Kane at Elimination Chamber, got beaten by The Rock, okay, that is a setback, beat Brock Lesnar in Brock Lesnar's first match back. That's the stupid John Laurinaitis Big Show feud that ended with Cena getting John Laurinaitis fired by beating the Big Show, so he got what he wanted there. Money in the Bank, won that. Darkest timeline stuff, this. Not getting the title because of a DQ at Raw 1000 and, you know, failing to get the WWE title off CM Punk without ever actually, of course, being beaten by him. Some time off, win the Royal Rumble. Yeah, a year of his existence destroyed. Where's John Cena's ribbon? So that being said, my pitch for this booking is a year-long story for John Cena, starting with Embrace the Hate, and then giving him an actual very bad year. So we're going to start with something that I'm not going to deny I've stolen from comics. DC did a really fun Batman story called Face the Face. Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, got reconstructive surgery to make his face whole again and actually joined Batman on the side of crime fighting, but couldn't keep the Two-Face persona at bay, so ended up re-burning himself. So before Kane returns to the ring in December 2011, air multiple vignettes of unmasked bald-ass Kane from 2003-2011 talking to his old mask, saying, "They no longer fear us. We have so much rage burning inside us, and if we don't make them feel it, that rage will burn us alive. They have to be afraid again." Cam returns to reveal a skillet full of hot coals. Wearing one of his black gloves, Kane takes a handful of coals and WWE cuts around him, burning his own face. He burns himself to reclaim himself and returns wearing his original blank face mask. So Kane goes after Cena on his return for pretty much the same reasons that he gave. The world is full of hate, John Cena isn't being honest with himself, the fans hate John, doesn't he realize how powerful he can be when he lets himself be fueled by hate rather than all these rules, and you think they'll save you. Cena refuses because he is basic, which provokes Kane. He says, "If you continue to deny hate, why is Kane suddenly British? I shall have to make hate undeniable." Which is why he goes after not Zack Ryder, but John Cena Sr. John Cena Senior. Because you know what? John Cena's dad is a giant mark, and it's adorable. He bloody loves the wrestling business so much that the dude co-owned an indie fed called Millennium Wrestling Federation once. He did manager work for them. Dude f***ing loves a bit of it. So yeah, Kane drags Cena's dad into the arena, gives him a tombstone. Let the hate flow through you. This leads to Kane versus Cena at the Rumble. Kane provokes Cena into losing his cool and says stuff like, "Hey, I killed your dad, remember?" The two brawl to the outside, double count out. Yes, I know. But Cena grabs Kane and AAs him through the stage. Loads of refs and EMTs come out and try and calm Cena down. No, he's had enough. But he throws EMTs to one side before the hole where Kane was put through erupts in fire. Cameras look into the smoking hole and Kane is gone. So after the Rumble, Kane ramps up the attacks, telling Jon, "Didn't it feel good to give in, Jon? To give in to the hate. But the problem is, you don't really hate me, Jon. You hate everyone else. Because despite everything you've given them, the parades, the hours spent away from home, the family that you never see until I'm taking them apart in front of you. Despite everything, the crowd still chant, 'Cena sucks.' Get people to chant it at Jon. After everything I've done, Jon, they don't support you. Then why rise above hate?" Over the weeks and after a vignette where he visits his dad at home who's confined to a wheelchair after Kane's attack, we see a slow change. Cena escalates. He starts by attacking heels a bit more viciously. Then he demands another match with Kane at Elimination Chamber, which initially Jon Laurinaitis refuses him, so Cena plants him with an AA, grabs a steel chair, and Cena attacks Jon Laurinaitis with it as Kane stands at the top of the ramp and laughs. Cena brings out his dad in a wheelchair and asks the fans for their support. And if you present WWE fans with a cheesy request this transparent, they will absolutely take the opportunity to destroy it. This actually gives WWE the opportunity to do something it's never really been capable of doing, properly grappling with a crowd by being aware that the fact that their universe is pretty full of callous pricks, you especially, and manipulating their fans' contrary nature. Kane comes down and kicks over Cena Sr. Cena and Kane brawl into the crowd, which ends with Cena aiming a punch at Kane, who ducks, and Cena hits a fan instead, obviously a plant. Cena then comes out the next week to apologize to the fans, but ends up losing patience with them, telling them to shut up. And obviously that's the game. You tell them to shut up, they will chant louder. And this is the important thing. Right now, right here, this is not a heel turn. Cena's right in being offended by the WWE universe being full of hate and not being sympathetic to his poor injured dad. Because yeah, they're full of hate because Kane's right. It's a more interesting story trying to get John Cena in an actually vulnerable place where he is less able to endure the complicated and often toxic relationship he has with the fans. And in 2012, you can't tell this story with anyone else. Using Cena's deteriorating ability to rise above hate, have him go on a proper losing streak, starting at Elimination Chamber where he faces Kane in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Again, like on Raw, the two fight up the ramp and he's going to hit Kane with a 5-knuckle shuffle, but it's just distracted by the crowd. He just looks at them like, guys, I know you hate me, but after everything he's done, how could you hate me more than you hate him? How could you not be behind me? And after this distraction, Kane grabs him, chokeslams him off the stage, through tables, pins him, 1, 2, 3. The next night, Cena comes out and he's trying to understand. He's outlining all of the things that Kane did to him and did to his family, but he said, look, if anything, I can understand that. Kane is a monster. He's been burned and consumed in fire and he has to let it out. But what I don't understand is you. Because I've tried rising above hate, but here's the thing. I understand that you do hate me, but even after all these years, I don't understand why. Like, is there anyone who can actually seriously tell me why you hate me? If you smell! Out comes The Rock, who proceeds to burn through 10 Shakespearean sonnets about why people hate John Cena, which gives their feud just that little bit of extra venom. So at Mania 28, Rock beats Jon just like in real life after Cena essentially beats himself. But instead of Cena going for a smarmy people's elbow, he goes for a chair. thinks about using it on The Rock, looks at the crowd, throws it away, turns around into the rock bottom, pin. 1, 2, 3. On Raw, Cena says he refuses to turn on the fans. He's not going to go to that dark place. He just wants to understand. Because his issue can't be with the fans, his issue is with himself. So in order to make peace with himself, he needs to make peace with the people, and that starts with the people's champion. So he calls out The Rock, out comes Brock Lesnar. Oh my, says Michael Cole. Terribly. Replicate their feud going into Extreme Rules, but instead of the match they had in real life, Brock beats the absolute piss out of him. Remember the SummerSlam 2014 match? Do that here. It makes way more sense to do it here. Cena's in a slump, Brock's an unexpected commodity, have Brock exhibition squash him, ending with Brock breaking Cena's arm, which means that Cena's on the shelf for a bit. He misses over the limit, which leaves the show to be main evented by, well, I guess the show doesn't have a main event. I guess you could run CM Punk versus Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship, but that'll never work. There are medical updates from Cena about how he's doing. He wants to thank the fans. When he returns from injury after a month and a half, this segues into a feud with John Laurinaitis and his people power. John Laurinaitis, still bitter from the whole steel chair thing, says that Cena has lost his control over the people and sets the Big Show on him, which leads to a match at No Way Out, which again, Cena loses clean. Keep playing these audience games. Let them in on the joke that, hey, if you chant these things like we want you to chant, we'll book Cena to lose. Money in the Bank 2012. 1 year on from their 2011 feud, run Cena versus Punk again. Have CM Punk repeat this game. Foster the hatred that Cena might have for the crowd. See, this is why the people don't like you, John, because you show up and are given everything. Where guys like me actually have to work for it. Punk versus Cena main event. Punk exploits Cena's still hurt arm to beat him clean. Again, slowly elevating Punk in multiple main events, multiple main event wins. Raw 1000, Cena gets Punk one more time on the condition from management that if Cena can't turn his losing streak around, if he can't beat Punk for the title at Raw 1000, this is Cena's last chance at the WWE title while Punk is champion. During the match, Brock Lesnar returns to Raw, distracts Cena, and Punk beats Cena again, which leads to SummerSlam, Cena versus Brock 2. This is more along the lines of the Extreme Rules match they had. It's more even-sided because Cena is starting to walk that dark path. He's fighting dirtier and dirtier, low blows, rabid chair shots, but Cena still loses. Then the night after SummerSlam, Cena comes out and tells the crowd that right now he hates them. So he's leaving because he doesn't know what else to do. Do they want him to come out and cut a "you people" promo and then continue to act this way? Does the fact that he resents the fans' lack of support excuse doing terrible things? No, he still can't bring himself to do it because he knows heading down this path is wrong. This is the thing that separates John Cena from everyone else. This is the thing that can give him that unique nobility, because he is Captain America. He is a man defined by moral intractability. People call Cap boring too, but he's one of a kind because he manages to find the strength to maintain grace in an increasingly cruel world. What doesn't work for Cena is watching a bunch of people around him suffering while he doesn't really do anything about it, and then just doing the same old shit and pretending that his own personal victories makes collateral damage unimportant. So instead here, he can feel himself heading down a dark path. He's been unable to stop the fans from getting to him. He is becoming increasingly desperate to turn his career around, and instead of continuing to embrace that darkness, all he can do right now is leave. Return to what they were setting up with all these promos. Return to his family. Return home. Take time for himself, not the fans. You know, have John be a human being about it. Also, this coincides with Cena needing time off for shoulder surgery. So this way, when he then is gone for a while and WWE fans really feel that loss, then when he makes his return during the 2013 Royal Rumble, it might feel more of an actual welcome home. And this way, even though yes, you end up doing Rock versus Cena 2, the story carries actual emotional weight because it has been a terrible year. Even after coming back, Cena is tempted to embrace the hate because he really needs to beat The Rock. And you can actually tease this now, a darkness in Cena. He needs to beat The Rock. Is he willing to go to that place? So the selling point of Mania 29 isn't twice in a lifetime, isn't can Cena become WWE champion, is will the turn finally happen? Because at this point in his career, It actually can. And you don't have to, whichever way you work, the groundwork's there. Either Cena took time away, became secure in himself, more resolute than ever in his principles, finally understood what it took to rise above hate, or he gives in, rejects the people for good, and embraces the hate. They both work, and I know which I'd prefer to see. So that is how I would rebook the Embrace the Hate storyline and pretty much John Cena's entire 2012. What do you think? Do you hate it? Don't tell me that. Don't embrace the hate, because I will end up reading it and it makes me sad. So just say good job. That's it. Just everyone comment good job. I'd like that, and then subscribe to partsFUNknown as well. And bye. Bye bye.